Ditemi.
Registrazione 2 è partita. Ok. Siamo in diretta tra 3, 2, 1.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Denise Boncioli. I am an astroparticle physicist working at the Department of Physical and Chemical Sciences of the University of L'Aquila. So today I'm very happy that we have Thomas Berghofer and Lia Lang, who have accepted our invitation to talk at the Thursday morning science seminar about gender equality in physics and other basic research fields. So this webinar comes after the Department of Physical and Chemical Sciences has entered the GENERA Network, which is what our guests will talk us about today. And they will explain also how the institution which participate to this network can contribute to do the first thing that I think we all should do when we are facing with issues, that is raising the awareness of a problem. So let me just introduce them. Let me read their CV. So Thomas has studied physics and astrophysics and got his PhD in Munich. He then moved to Garching, Berkeley, and Hamburg Observatory. And at DESI Hamburg, he then became a program manager for the federal funding of astroparticle physics and has been engaged in several international cooperations in research, technology, and gender equality. He coordinated the EU-funded GENERA project, and he is currently involved in the coordination of the GENERA Network, which has been founded in 2018. Lia Lang studied in Munich, Stockholm, and Berlin, and holds a master's degree in gender studies from the Humboldt University. She worked as a project manager in the overall coordination team in the GENERA project, and she is involved in the Horizon 2020 project, Act on Gender, as facilitator of the GENERA Network community, and she leads the working group on career development. She is based in DESI Zeuthen. So I kindly ask you at the end or at any time you want to ask questions to use the chat on the Microsoft Teams or the chat on the YouTube, so that we can at the end ask directly to the speakers to reply to our questions. And at the end, we will also ask you to switch on your cameras to see and to show how many we are. And then I let the speakers start sharing their screen, their slides, and I'm sure we will enjoy the seminar. Thank you.
Yeah, good afternoon. Thanks a lot for inviting us over, and it's a great pleasure to give this seminar on gender equality. And it is, of course, a must-do to present this presentation as a best-in-class example, so as a mixed team. So it's me, Thomas, and Lia, and we will switch back and forth, and I must make sure that Lia has the last word in this presentation, not me as a male, as it often is the case in other seminars or whatever to come together. So, Lia, you want to say hi?
Yeah, I already said hello in the chat. So, hello everyone. Good to have you with us. It's a new experience for us to give this talk and be recorded at the very same time. So, bear with us. And yeah, I hope we can keep you with us, and I hope we can provide you with some insights about the work we really love to do. So Thomas will start, and then I'll take over. And yeah, use the chat, write down your questions, and then we can discuss afterwards and make this as interactive as possible.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay, let's start with the presentation. So the topic of today is gender equality in physics and other fields. We have So next slide is coming or not? Here. This is the menu of today. We will introduce to you gender equality and what's the matter with it, and then provide you the status in physics and other fields in basic research, mainly STEM fields, but it's also same in biology and life sciences, etc. And then topics number 3 and 4 are projects or networking that we have initiated and done, and we will show you some or we picked out some interesting topics which we want to provide to you and have you starting thinking about it and show you why it's important that we do something together in Europe on this issue. And topic 5 is then summarize and give some conclusions to you. All right. Gender equality. Here's a picture of the famous Solvay conference of 1927. So if you look at the people that are in this picture, they are all famous scientists from 1927, and it's very obvious that gender equality is not an issue at that time. So of course you see very many males, and there's only one female. It is Marie Curie. Have you ever thought what happens if you ask yourself, name a famous scientist? I think most of the people, or it has been studied some time ago, most people will say Albert Einstein. But on the other hand, Marie Curie has also got 2 Nobel Prizes, so it's really amazing that more tend to name a male scientist than a female scientist. So this is almost 100 years ago, and since that time a lot of things have happened. So for example, the United Nations have put gender equality as one of the sustainable development goals, for example. So it is here number 5 among many other important things you find in these graphics here. So, and also in Europe, it matters a lot. So in defining the European research area, the European Commission has defined priorities, and you see that gender equality and gender mainstreaming in research is one of these priorities set for the European research area. And that's also a reason why Europe provides funding, especially for this topic, and that researchers itself can do something towards gender equality. So we had a project, GENERA project, which was active in physics, and it was rather interesting to see. We derived the status by checking for scientific publications on this issue, and the conclusions are all together in these few sentences that I show you here, and it explains you the complete picture. So the cause of the gender inequality in physics and in science in general is a complex issue and cannot be based on a single factor. Yeah, that's clear. In a growing number of analyses of impediments to female scientific career, it has been demonstrated that gender imbalance in science results from interplay of many institutional, social, cultural, and individual factors. Yeah. Of course, they include but are not limited to gender stereotypes and implicit biases, traditional image of an ideal scientist connected with the masculine nature of science, gendered understandings about appropriate and natural male and female interests introduced at the early age and continuing throughout adolescence and adulthood, unfavorable academic climate for female scientists, sex segregation of occupations, social norms of burdening women with excessive family responsibility for childcare, elderly care, and household management, demands of full work devotion within academia and STEM in particular, covered discrimination in the form of old boys networks, biased hiring practices, unfair distribution of resources, cultural perceptions of femininity and masculinity, bullying, harassment as career preference and lifestyle choices. So, wow, this is quite an issue if you want to do something on this issue. So the question how to change when you see this list of things that are all going wrong, so to speak. Has been about 20 years ago when Landa Schiebinger came up with the idea that this is a threefold project to go for gender equality in science. So she said, first, fix the numbers by improving the numbers of women in STEM. So I think we all know that our institutions try to, or they have some activities going on to raise awareness for science in schools, to improve the numbers of students later on, and so on. Then second point is fix the cultures or the institutions by improving the way we interact. I will come back to this point in a minute. Or third, fix the subject or the research and the curricula for teaching and learning. And so in the following, we will provide you with some ideas how we tackled topic number 2 within the GENERA project. And then later we'll show you some ideas how one can tackle fixing the subject or the research, so which we got started with in GENERA Network. Right, this is the original idea. So the status in physics and other fields and basic research. So there's a long-term monitoring going on by the European Commission, the so-called SHE figures, where lots of numbers are compiled over the years. So from the SHE figures 2018, I would like to cite the following statements. Women make up less than 50% of doctoral students, doctoral graduates, and academic staff. In the top academic grade, in particular, women are a clear minority, and the position since 2013 has improved only slightly. So it is already changed compared to the picture I showed you at the beginning of the survey conference. But here is another statement. The share of women is considerably smaller in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics than overall pooled fields of R&D across the career path. So it seems there's a long way to go to really reach gender equality when you read this in year 2018. Right, here's a picture of what is going on. A picture or a so-called scissor diagram where you put down the numbers of males and females in certain stages of the career. So you see it's going from the bachelor and master domain over the doctoral phase, the PhD, up to the professor or director level, the highest level. And you see the further you come in the career, the less is the numbers of females in the system. So, and it completely goes down at the highest level. And this has not changed much. You see 2 different times compared in this diagram. So slowly moving, but perhaps not fast enough. Here's the same picture for just the STEM fields. And here is already the starting, quite obviously different. You see that women are starting in the range of, let's say, 30% in the students on the students level, and then it breaks down to half of it when it comes to the director level. So it's not a scissor diagram. These 2 curves of male and female do not cross each other. So it's well separated here. All right, so my first part is over, and I will hand over to Leah that she will continue the presentation.
Thank you, Thomas. So now I have the pleasure to give you some insights of the GENERA network about what we're actually doing. And in this network, as Denise mentioned, also your university, your Department of Physics is included. Before I start talking about the GENERA network, I would like to look back with you and give you a very brief history, how it actually all started. And in like 2014, there was a consortia out of astroparticle physics institutions, and they realized, hey, we hardly have any women on board, and we don't know why, but we would like to change it, and we want to do it together. So they successfully won money from the European Commission, and they set up the GENERA project I will introduce to you right now. So Thomas, if you could provide me with the next slide. Yes. So this consortia won money to support research organizations to implement so-called gender equality plans. And I'm not sure how familiar you are with this term. So gender equality plan is a strategic instrument institutions can use. So first of all, you look at the current state of gender equality issues at your institution. And for instance, you measure the numbers of men and women on different career levels, and then you define the targets where you would like to be in a specific amount of time, and then you set the measures how to get from the current status to your target. And this is all included in a gender equality plan. And the aim of this project and the money is to support physics institutions to design, to implement, and also to monitor those so-called gender equality plans. 3 years, we had 3 years, 3 million euros, 11 institutions, and it ended in August 2018. And the overall frame, or the overall unique selling point, if you would like to call it like this, was that it is from physics for physics, because there are a lot of projects like this out all over in the academic world, but we really wanted to make sure we do it within one discipline. And after the 3 years, I mean, you cannot change a quite masculine research culture within 3 years. So we really wanted to continue, and this is why we created the GENERA network. But before, I would like to give you some insights on the achievements we gained. So next slide, please. Well, of course, I could talk for hours. I mean, we had 3 years in 20 countries. I don't know how many trips we made to different places. It was quite an adventure, but I tried to structure it on 4 different levels. So on the left side, you see the numbers of gender equality plans. Above, and on the right side above, you see the tools. Then I'd like to talk about the reports and the events. So we managed to have 4 new gender equality plans in place, and 3 updated ones. And just to give you an idea, for instance, we had Poland on board, and in this country, you don't even have a gender equality office or some kind of support structure we, for instance, have in Germany or in Italy. So it was really our partners from Poland managed to implement the first gender equality plan ever, and in quite such chilly political circumstances. We even needed security staff to protect one event from us, right? So I think it was quite an achievement. So this is on the gender equality plans, and then we managed to set up several tools to support research organizations who have little knowledge on gender equality, what they can actually do. I will speak about this in a minute. We conducted several reports and studies. We are happy to provide you the links. We don't have the time to go into crazy detail, but for instance, to just give you some insights about a study on the gender dimension physics, it was a quality study. We conducted about 90 interviews with physicists, and it was so interesting. We asked them about the working environment in physics and how it is for them on a gender perspective. And we've basically learned that the career path in physics are more and more scattered, right? They're more and more precarious, so to speak. You need a lot more flexibility. You have to be quite mobile in terms of moving from one country to the other, which also affects, combining maybe care responsibility and your family with your research. And we've also learned that physicists really, really love their job. So they also, they put a lot of effort and emphasis on it and trying to adjust with the sometimes challenging circumstances. Yeah, and also we had events all over Europe, and we had one in Italy, in Rome, where our partners from CNR, I'm sure you know them, or some of you might know them, they ask schools to send in a video on women in physics. And they got more than 130 videos from all over Italy, and then they created a committee and trying to, you know, find a winner. And then they invited the schools to a huge event. And I can't remember the last time where I've been on one conference with so many young pupils on board and students. So that was quite amazing. So just some insights about achievements. And next slide, please. I would love to shortly also speak about the tools. So on the right-hand side, you can see some colorful dots. We called them the so-called fields of actions. So first we wanted to make sure, what do we actually talk about when we talk about gender equality? Is it only about combining research and family, or is it also about the visibility of minorities and of women in STEM or in physics? Isn't it also about engaging leadership and also including gender and diversity issues when you teach or when you do research? So this really helped us to broaden the term of gender equality to not only look at the numbers. And then we conducted a toolbox. Is what you can see in the middle below. There's this table with more than 100 measures from physics institutions. So we really wanted to know, what are you actually doing, right? And also we created a so-called roadmap, because, you know, we got money from European Commission to set up gender equality plans. So we made a roadmap to tell them what step needs to do in order to reach it. And we still use it, and it's especially useful for new organizations. And then we also collect annual data from physics institutions. You can see a small plot. We are not allowed to publish them, so this is why it's really small. I'm sorry. Well, we wanted to get the numbers from the involved physics institutions every year on different career levels and compare them. And it was really interesting to also see the differences among Europe. So in Romania, for instance, you have a much higher number of female students and PhDs compared to Germany, for instance. So there are quite some huge differences in terms of the numbers in Europe when you look at different countries. Okay, next slide, please. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, just some insights for you. And you might have realized that our network is really focused on organizations, so to support organizations in gender equality issues. So now we are talking to you as researchers. It's a quite different perspective, but anyhow, we hope that you, that you also can get something out of it and realize that it's an important issue for your organization to support gender equality. So here is now the GENERA network. So out of this GENERA project, we created a GENERA network because, of course, you can't solve the problem of gender equality within 3 years. We need more time. It's a long-term issue. So we managed to start with 5 institutions, and now, as you can see, we have 32 members, universities, research institutions, research organizations, and we also have so-called Friends of GENERA. You might wonder, what does it mean? It basically means they would love to join the network, but they are not able to provide those annual data we need. So we also wanted to have them as friends. So we are quite well spread all over Europe, as well as Israel. And in Italy, as you can see on the right side, we also have CNR on board. I already mentioned them, ENFN, and then you as GSSI. No, we have GSSI, Uni-Roma, and your university. So next slide, please. Yeah, so what do we do with all those institutions? You can imagine it's quite a huge group, quite well spread. First of all, we have online meetings, and this is something you can, as a researcher, join anytime. So we speak about different topics, and basically the need for those topics, they come from the members. So we had a meeting on how to deal with harassment, sexual harassment, how to deal with biases and funding system and recruitment. So basically we had 50 meetings so far, every time on different topics. And we basically share the expertise we have among us, because as you can see, we're quite a huge group. So this is how we spread new knowledge. And then also we have face-to-face meetings twice a year. Hopefully, in those COVID times, we can meet again soon, maybe even one day in Grandsasse. And we organize ourselves in working groups. Because, 70 people, you need to somehow organize yourself. We have one on the data collection and analysis, because as you know, we all love data. We all want to know how it looks like. So we have one on data collection and analysis. We have a working group on strategy and vision within the network, and we're already working on new proposals to make sure that we can continue with the work over the next years. We have one on dissemination, who, for instance, published that we're giving a talk right now to you guys. And we have one on career development. Denise is also part of it, and gender dimension. And I'd love to talk to you about the last 2 working groups in the next slide. Thank you, Thomas. Okay. The one on the gender dimension in physics. Well, I would like to invite you for a moment to change the perspective. So, of course, electrons and planets, they have no gender and no sex. But if you shift the perspective to the objective, from the objective to the one who's actually doing the research, of course, there's a person, right? And this person has a gender and is male or female or whatever. And this also shapes what interests you have. This also shapes what metaphors you use when explaining and when teaching. And this person also decides what examples you use, what pictures you use in physics teaching books, for instance, where you have mainly male people, right? Pictures from male ones when you explain something. And also this person decides what to disseminate. So this working group is led by Professor Thomas Brage from the University of Lund, and we're trying to really somehow enter new spaces of research. So we look at the numbers of men and women in physics, but we even go beyond with this working group on gender dimension. So we look into the content itself of physics. And review, investigate, and produce knowledge about the gender dimension. And I'm so excited about it, and see what we can find in there. Just to show that physics is not a neutral discipline where gender has no effect. Just looking at the number, you realize there must be some gender bias inside. So this is really, so to speak, groundbreaking and very new. Probably you've never heard about it. But I'm excited that within the GENERA network, we take on this adventure, and it's well led by Professor Thomas Brage. Next slide, please. And then we also have a working group on career development, and I'm leading it, so why I get excited. And the aim of this working group is really to do something for early career researcher, because we realize that pursuing a career in physics, in STEM in general, it's quite challenging. And we would like to include gender and diversity issues also when making career choices. And we are designing a one-day workshop to inform you about the different career paths you can make, about the skills you need on whatever career path you would like to follow, and also to deal with issues like harassment, sexual harassment, gender biases, how to combine research and family. And it's been, we started last year and we just had a meeting yesterday, right, Denise? And I think it's going really well, and I hope we can have our first workshop pilot at the end of the year. So maybe one day also at your institution, we can offer a workshop for you as when you're a PhD student and you would like to go deeper in career issues. Yes, and here you can see the expected outcome and the current state of this working group. Next slide, please. Yes, just to sum up. So I know it's a bit abstract what we are doing, because we work mainly with institutions, but as you can see, we also want to work with the target group more directly, for instance, with this working group on career development. And so when you want to get engaged, let us know. And as you know, you can also always follow our online meetings, and you can let Denise or others know when you would like to do something. Okay, so here you can see the GENERA Network management team. So it's us in Israel. We went to a conference. You can see Thomas and myself. And then we also have Maitel Eran Yona from the Weizmann Institute. She's the chair of the GENERA Network. And you can also see Francesca Primas, astronomer from ASO. And this network is led by physicists as well as social scientists, which is an adventure itself. But so far it has been quite some fun and joy, and we're all learning a lot from each other. And yes, this was a sweet, short insight into the GENERA network based on the GENERA project. And I will hand over back to Thomas to wrap up. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. So so my task is now to provide you with a summary and some conclusions of today's seminar. Right. So I think we have made clear that the number of women in physics and other STEM fields increased over the last decades. However, the underrepresentation is still imminent in the system, and this is my interpretation. If we do nothing or address gender equality like we did in the last time or last decades, then we may reach gender equality in about a century. So this is of course not fast enough, and we showed you that we try to do something out of the community or out of a number of institutions. And so the first activities were to come together and implement gender equality plans, which is in fact a number of gender equality measures with some around it. And the idea is that these gender equality plans shall help institutions to change. We've, of course, understood that it's important to measure, and physicists like very much taking data, and also for measuring the effect of measures, it is important to take data and see if they show an effect. But it's of course clear that it takes a long breath to really see an effect of something. So we learned in the project that we need to establish a long-term monitoring, and so we did in GENERA Network. Wait a second, I should keep here. So this brought us into the domain of this networking. But the monitoring itself does not keep us together. We have to address, or it was clear, we have to address several issues together, and we discussed among ourselves what is important. And it was found out that the young people are important. They should be brought together with what is going on when it comes to gender in science, that they, when they are in a leading position later on as a group leader or a director, that they remember that gender equality matters. So that's why we are addressing gender equality also in developing a career module for young researchers. And a new topic is gender dimension in research. And if you think a while about it, of course, we have the idea that we can do something by legal matters and say gender equality is in our constitutions, or it has been defined as a priority or whatever. But if it comes out of the field by itself, by a gender perspective in the research we are doing, it may provide the best arguments for gender equality. And this is why we are addressing this a bit more esoteric looking like a topic. It is not esoteric, it's real, but we have to say why it's real. And that's why we are together in GENERA Network. So if you want to get closer to GENERA Network, then here is a list of contact possibilities or channels where you can follow what's going on. I mean, for institutions, it's very interesting because they can join in and become a member and learn what's going on or contribute or define the scope of this work. So we are not doing anything that nobody's interested in. We are defining our scope by ourselves. So when an institution comes in, it has the chance to shape everything that we're addressing together. So, yeah.
Thomas, may I just add, on top of what institutions could do, what we as individuals can do in everyday life? For the last slide. So yeah, we can also close the presentation. We also wanted to end with a more like practical suggestions what you could do in your daily life to support gender equality as a researcher. And I really think the small things matter. So for instance, if you observe some kind of harassment or sexual harassment, support the person, or if you experienced it, ask for help. So don't blame yourself, it's never your fault. So yeah, if you observe or experience some kind of harassment, ask for help. Or right now in those COVID times, combining research and family and care responsibility is such a challenge. We haven't faced it before, and it really shows that we are not, of course, we are scientists and we love what we do, but we also have a family and a private life, and we need to somehow combine it. So if there are any ways, support your colleagues with care responsibility in those times. And also I would like to add that, of course, it's not only challenging for women in STEM or physics, it's in general like challenging for minorities. So if you're Black or gay man or a lesbian or a trans person, whatever kind of minority you are, it's of course challenging in the field. So again, you know, find people who can support you, gather together. So yeah, we can all together create a more diverse and inclusive research culture. This is what I would what we wanted to end with. So thank you very much. I think you're still there after 40 minutes.
Yes, yeah, we are. Of course, and thank you very much, Leah and Thomas. It was a very nice introduction to the network, but also it was very nice to hear and to stress that, of course, small things matter, and we can actually, every one of us can contribute to this. So I would like to start, if you want, reading some questions that I see now in the chat, so that we hope we can have more information. So, so first question is about if there are other examples of virtuous institutions with regards to gender balance in physics, and how did they do it? What can we learn from them?
Yeah, thank you. I read the question in the chat. Yeah. So, I mean, there are many great ideas. The one I like, for instance, was that one institution set up 120% grant. So that means that the researchers who had some care responsibility, or basically one of the group leaders got pregnant during this time, and those months the group leader was upset, could be added after it. Mm-hmm. And it really helped the researcher and the research team to finish the work. And the money was already planned in the very beginning. It was saved before. So I think those little things really help to also support young group leaders and young scientists, both men and women who would like to, who become parents. This is one small example.
And in this, I guess, it is also very important to have a vision well in advance of what can happen, of course.
Yeah, and to save the money for this.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. And it was so successful, I mean, also for the institution itself, because they made sure that the excellent scientists also stay and come back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So another question is about, so is GENERA project also aiming in future to deal with other equality issues like race, religion, or do you think is not relevant in science?
This is a very good question. We would like to, or politics is following a certain agenda, and this includes in the future also diversity and inclusion issues, and that all addresses what comes out by this question. Yeah, we shall do, but on the other hand, we shall not forget the gender equality. So it's not like a burnt down field or gender equality, and then you move over to the next field and you do something on race or religion. So I think all difficulties or hurdles we experience in gender equality will all pop up again when we address diversity issues. So we can learn a lot, and for me, it can only go together: equality and diversity and inclusion. So, yeah, we are planning on writing a proposal that goes exactly in this direction and addressing this all together.
Yeah. So basically, this can, I mean, what Francesco was asking, I guess everything can take advantage. From what has been or what has been studied or is going to be, it is studied at the moment within the network, I guess.
Yeah, and the physics community or the STEM community is so international, the collaborations. So, I mean, you can't address gender issues without taking into account other kinds of diversity aspects. So, yes, it's so important.
So we have another very, very interesting question. So what advice do you have for women undergraduates, as that seems to be the main point where the percentage of women in STEM subjects falls? This is hard, yes.
Okay.
Good question. Yeah, I can only say keep on going. It's do what you like and don't let other people decide on your career or so. try to stay together. And individuals, as an individual, is always difficult when you face problems related to gender, to stand it, but together it may be possible. And of course, you, as an undergraduate, you cannot change the world. That's clear. You're facing the system. You can change the world as soon as you are in a leading position. But in case you need really help, support because maybe of harassment, etc., then please get in contact with support structures in your institute. Often they have anonymous ways of reporting harassment, etc., and make use of it. Don't hesitate.
Can I add something? So yeah, great question. So maybe don't take things too personally, knowing that the system itself is quite harsh against minorities. And our research has shown that it helps to have a good network and mentors on your side, both men and women, to remind you about your brains. I mean, you're already there, so you must be better than many others already. So yeah, don't take things too personally, and connect, and yeah, be well connected to networks.
So thanks. Next one. So Ilaria, first of all, she's saying thank you. It was a really interesting talk, and she's asking how many men support gender project in Europe. Are there any meetings where men themselves expose the importance of female colleagues in science?
You know the He for She initiative, Ilaria? So there's, I think that's a great initiative. It's not academic focused only, but there are some great initiatives where men, of course, support women. And if I may say this, I mean, this whole gender equality issue, of course, it benefits women, but it benefits everyone. So it's really not about doing women a favor or something. You don't need to make us a favor, but it's like, it's for the benefit of all to, you know, to get excellent research and to make sure that we reduce the biases and only support men, but to make sure we have excellent research. So it's really about the benefit of everyone. So yes, it's, of course, it's important to have men to speak out for female colleagues, but if they do so, they know it's because it's better for everyone.
Yeah, there are not enough men going for gender equality. I mean, most of the men don't even think about it. So so myself, I got concerned with gender equality many years ago when my boss came into my office and said, "Oh, Thomas, starting tomorrow you are a female representative." This was in the end of the 1990s, and I said, "Are you crazy?" And but I started thinking about it and was searching for information, and after a while I said, I got to do it because we had no female in our institute which was allowed to be a female representative. So I served as the female representative for several years. So this was my way of getting into this topic. But of course, it's always reminds me on this old weather report song, "It's raining man." It's not raining man, so let it rain. Somehow shake your colleagues and say, hey, gender equality also matters you. So
that's really important, I think, yeah. So next question is about where to read or where to find information about gender inequality in science. So Joanna is asking if there are any books or articles you would suggest.
Yeah, there's this great book. I was just trying to find it while being online with you. Maybe I can send it to Denise. I think there's great material out there, really. And also on different kinds of styles. I'm not sure if you know Liv Strömquist. She's an artist from the Nordic country, and she basically paints and cartoons, for instance, the history of women in science. So on very different level, I think they're great materials, and I'm happy to maybe send it to Denise and she could provide it to you. So yeah, endless, so to speak. But I can provide you with my favorite ones.
Yeah, thanks. So another question is related to the fact that among us there are also chemists and biologists or biotechs. So how is the situation in these fields? And if it is, why do you think it is different, if it is different?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, a very good question. Good point. I mean, we were very much focused on physics, what we presented today. But why we were having these EU-funded projects, a couple of sister projects were tackling gender equality in neighboring fields like life sciences and other fields, or marine science, etc. And to me, it looks like the problems or burdens are pretty similar in in basic research. The starting conditions, when you look at the numbers, are different. For example, in biology, you have many more female students than male students entering the university system. But then all these processes at work that bring down the numbers of females, I think they are universal or more extreme in biology than in physics. Here the starting conditions are maybe 30% female physics students compared to 70% female students in biology. And but chemistry, somewhere in the middle between biology and physics. Physics is then pretty similar to computer science and these engineering fields. So yeah, but when you look at the highest level, most females are gone, lost by what some people call it the leaky pipeline. So it's like a big pipeline from students level to highest level, and over the time it looks like an old house in the garden with many holes, and so water is dripping out everywhere, and the person who is trying to flower the plants to water the plants get no water at the end. So yeah, that's the situation. But the exchange with other colleagues working on these issues in other fields, it shows that they are trying to tackle the same problems and difficulties, and yeah.
So I guess understanding why there are also these differences. For example, at the beginning, it is quite complicated. I mean, one should probably go back to the high school and understand, I mean, also what is the situation of the people who then start the university. So I guess this is a very, I mean, we would need probably another seminar or maybe another project also, yeah.
Yeah. I should add, I mean, the goal is not to make everybody a physicist. I mean, not everybody likes physics. Other people like biology, and of course, we want to have a colorful research going on, and so everybody should decide on its own whether physics or mathematics or whatever is right. So the goal of gender equality is not to change this.
Yeah.
Of course not. It's really that people can reach, can do what they want and reach on the level they are able to reach. They are not blocked by other issues than being excellent and really dedicated to what they are doing.
So I don't know if you are ready for the next question. So
I'll take over.
Fabiana is asking, how important do you think encouraging companies to offer free childcare could be in encouraging women to pursue both a career in science and a family? And how viable do you think this is for most companies?
So yes, I think it's important for companies to offer free childcare for both men and women. So to make this issue not only a female issue, because it's not, especially the care responsibility. And I've been working at the Fraunhofer Research Institute before, and we did studies in companies, and it showed that they offered it, but it was not used because there's a culture that somehow doesn't allow you to use it because it's judged. So as a company, yes, offer it, but then also make sure that, I don't know, the highest boss is using it, and that the highest boss brings his or her child also into the office every now and then, and to show that it's okay to use it and that it's fine. Yes, so I think it's important, but not only offering, also create a culture where you're allowed to use it.
So offering also role models to the other people and giving the example that one can do it. I mean, also men can do that, of course.
Yes.
So, and I think next we have a suggestion. So Professor Teti is suggesting to read the book Why Men Don't Listen and Women Can't Read Maps, how to spot the differences in the way men and women think to understand the gender differences. So it is always, of course, good to know more about this. So
yeah, there are, of course, I mean, scientific articles are more like pop culture articles, but it's good, yeah.
Still, it's good that we talk about that. We have then next question by Katerina, who is asking, how can a scientist collaborate to the GENERA project?
Yeah, again, a good question. Usually one can join as an institute, but of course an institute, what's an institute without people and scientists? It's just a concrete structure. And at the end, what we are doing together is made by the people that get connected to this network. So what scientists can do is either the institution is already part of GENERA, then it's very easy. You're already in and can just join the meetings, etc., or give me a hint that I should put you on the mailing list. If your institution is not already participating, then you can also get in contact with us and say and connect your institute to the network, and then we can start the procedure to bring this, to attach this institution to the network, and then you can participate in the network as a person representing the institution.
Thanks. So next question is about social networks and other means of communication, such as television, if they can be used to support this project. In my opinion, gender equality, such as race and religion, is so important that it deserves such great attention.
Yes, in principle, I totally agree. But concerning the media, we have to be careful. There are sometimes trends you can find in the news that if some journalists think it's enough gendered, that they write some articles against it. So so it's going back and forth. So whenever there's some progress, then you have forces who like to turn the wheel back, and and it's also a matter of prejudices. So and here we really have to be careful what is really a fact or a data and what is just a prejudice. And and the social media, it's it's like this or that, and but I think we need more time to discuss than just saying yes or no or black or white. It's yeah, and here I have some, or it's my personal problem with social media on networks.
Well, we do have a Twitter account, so we are on Twitter. We write blog articles. I mean, it's just nice to be connected with everyone on Twitter because it's so much quicker than the news. So yes, we are online. But as you can see, there's also an issue of like generation and you know, what to use. And in our network, we have senior researcher and very early career researcher. So I think it's good to address all kinds of target groups and use all kinds of channels. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think another question, I guess it should be more or less last because we took a lot of time. So Marco is saying that there are always people who say, well, why should women have a special treatment? What would you tell those people?
My experience is that female researchers hate when somebody's trying to provide a special treatment for them. But this special treatment is often hidden, and this works against the females. So there, we must be careful what we mean by special treatment. It makes sense because the only female can give birth to children, and the phase where this happens, or family building and special extra obligations are on the shoulders of the women, are exactly in the phase where you usually are in the most important phase of your career, where you make the step maybe from PhD to postdoc, and where you become an independent researcher. And here we should make clear that the chances for male and female stay the same. And of course, I cannot directly compare, for example, the publication record of males and female when the female gave birth to 2 children in this time. It's impossible that she can keep the record as high as the male in this situation. So here we need compensations, or this must be realized by the system, that it doesn't mean that the female researcher gets kicked out of the system because she has 2 or 3 publications less. And there, of course, a special treatment is important. But I think this is well understood, and it needs to be established in the system that we have these compensations. But it can also be true that the male is raising the kids and is then not performing like without kids. And yeah, this must be taken into account.
Sure.
And if I may add, I mean, if you look at the numbers of female professors, I mean, men still don't need to be afraid, you know, you still own almost 90% of all the positions. First of all, and second, as I said before, gender equality is not doing a favor for women. It's really about creating excellent research cultures. So this is what it's all about. and not a favor or special treatment for anyone.
So, so before just saying thank you so much, I would like to ask the people who want to just to switch on their cameras, just to say goodbye and to show our faces. If so, everyone who likes that, and so that we can show that we are really listening. It was really nice to listen to your talk, and I'm sure that we can start from this to have some awareness of what is the problem, and also to be positive in thinking that we can all do something, and why not contributing to this network or to other initiatives in the same direction. So I guess this is all, and thank you so much. I think we can keep in touch, or I think if anybody wants to send information or ask Leah or Thomas other questions, I think you can use their email address to communicate with them. And so thank you so much. I just leave the stage to Marco, who wanted to announce the next webinar next week.
Yeah, thank you. So first of all, thank you, Thomas and Leah. Again, it was a really excellent talk. I'm sure everyone needed it. Really thank you. And it was very well attended. We're 71 people, plus the ones who will see it on YouTube. And so yeah, very good job. Thank you. So just want to leave you with this announcement for next week. So next week we also have a live webinar that will be broadcasted on UNIVAC website, and it will be about COVID-19. So it will be Professor Nicola Petrosillo from the Lazzaro Spallanzani Institute. He was the leader of the task force for the Ebola outbreak in, I think it was 2013. So he's a big shot. He's a very good researcher. Great scientist, and the title is SARS-CoV-2 Transmission Routes, Persistence and Criteria for Cessation of Isolation. So make sure you're here next week, same time, and let's be with Professor Petrosillo next week on the TMS. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
See you next week.
Ciao, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Thomas. Ciao.
Ciao.